big week ahead for Manchester United. Obviously, with what we just said there, the World Cup finishing this week, could we now start to get more movement on key targets in Manchester United's rebuild? We're talking Manu Kone, we're talking Buwadi, we're talking Gomes, we're talking Scott, Sander Berg. There's plenty of stories going around this morning for Manchester United fans to get into, and we're going to discuss them this morning. Price hikes, well, what do we expect? We've warned about this. The majority saying the same things now. Manchester United definitely closing in on their next move in midfield. Fabrizio Romano's been talking, Matteo Moretto also talking, other journalists from Spain and other places across Europe now actually getting down to the nitty-gritty, with plenty of clubs also making their moves now.
Wingers, Vinícius Jr. On Vinicius Jr, many questions. Let me clarify one thing. First of all, when I told you in the last video, Aurelien Tchouaméni already signed a new contract at Real Madrid and there will be more players, one more player for sure, signing a new contract soon, I was not talking about Vinicius. Vinicius is a separate case. Also because in the same video, I told you about that story and I told you about Vinicius in a separate case. So if it was going to be Vinicius, I was going to mention Vinicius directly. In this case, is another story. So Real Madrid are still working on another important extension, but I will tell them at the right moment. On Vinicius Jr, there will be discussions with his agents. Real Madrid want to clarify the situation this summer as soon as possible. I told you already 2 weeks ago about this, while Vinicius was already at the World Cup, was still at the World Cup with Brazil, and that remains the desire of the club. Real Madrid want to clarify the Vinicius contract situation this summer. Real Madrid don't want to arrive in November, December, January, February with Vinicius. 1 year left on his contract. Media talks, paper talks, a situation that could be dangerous in terms of losing the player on a free. So Real Madrid don't want to enter into that kind of loop. Real Madrid want to clarify the situation as soon as possible. Want to clarify the situation in the next couple of weeks with Vinicius Jr. I told you that the desire of Vinicius is to stay and the desire of Real Madrid is to keep Vinicius. That's not new. I always told you this, with Florentino Perez pushing for Vinicius to be part of the Real Madrid project for long term. But it's important, really important, to mention there is a financial discussion. So now they need to find an agreement on the numbers, the contract, the salary. These things are important to understand, important to get. So that's the point. The salary is the crucial point of negotiation for Vinicius Jr. So contacts will continue. But the new contract I was mentioning that is going to happen for Real Madrid after Tchouaméni 2031 was not Vini. So I will tell you more on Vini as soon as it's clarified. On Real Madrid, just quickly, also a quick touch on Eduardo Camavinga, because my understanding is that Eduardo Camavinga, despite new calls coming from the Premier League, because Premier League clubs are very keen on Eduardo Camavinga, despite new calls from Premier League, Eduardo Camavinga still wants to fight for his place at Real Madrid. So now is going to be important because Camavinga will be with Mourinho. There will be the preseason training sessions. So we have to understand how will be the feeling between Mourinho and Camavinga. The desire of Camavinga is to stay at Real Madrid. Then, if Real Madrid will tell him, you have to go, we will see what happens there. But at the moment, the desire of Camavinga is to fight for his place at Real Madrid. So this is Camavinga position.
The last week of the World Cup, obviously, once it finishes, it's going to go into overdrive, this transfer window, and everybody's going to start making their moves pre-season. I mean, Manchester United play a game before the World Cup final this weekend coming up, so it's a mad one. It's going to be a crazy week for Manchester United, and we're also expecting to get the announcements of Caldalo and Andre Santos. That's probably going to be tomorrow. United letting the weekend play out, it would seem, and then getting down to business and all that side of official stuff when Monday hits. So I want to talk about the next midfield target because there is a load more talk. Yesterday was very, very detailed on the Manu Kone situation and everything going on there with Manchester United's move. Just to quickly recap on everything that happened yesterday, Manchester United have spoken to the representatives of Manu Kone. They're ready to open talks and make a move. The price was set. There's been a few varying prices that have floated around for him. Manchester United in some quarters were actually saying that they've made a bid for him. Roma last night expecting a bid to come in from Manchester United. All a little bit expectation-wise now as this being an inevitable outcome and Kone heading to the Premier League with United leading the race. I haven't really heard of any other club specifically mentioned for Kone, so this is looking positive. The latest on this, again, is in and around that price and what's happening with it. So Eduardo Burgos last night was reporting on Manchester United's midfield targets, talking in the Dario AS. He has come up with a few different stories before on this, but it's the same as what we're hearing already from different outlets on the Kone situation. And I'd said, and I've warned about this before, like if Kone has a good World Cup, continues to play instead of Tchouaméni, then his price is obviously going to go up. You've got a World Cup winner there, haven't you? So if he is a World Cup winner, he's in the Champions League with Roma, then obviously the price isn't going to be as cheap as what we would want it to be. At this point in this window, with the prices the way that they are, it's not even that big a deal. We shouldn't be looking at it as a bigger deal because we're expecting this now. When United come in for a player, expect that price to just skyrocket and go through the roof. So Roma hoping for a price hike and trying to just hold off negotiations, it would seem, until obviously the World Cup finishes. Nothing can happen until the World Cup finishes anyway, but United can get in and get this deal done. Do United go in and force their arm here and try and get Roma to the table early before France play again? Obviously, France play on Tuesday in that semi-final against Spain. We could do with Spain winning that one just to end all of this, and then we can get Manu Kone back with the rest of that French squad and get this deal moving forward. If indeed we are, like the report said yesterday, ready to go and make this move on Kone. A lot of reports did say yesterday as well, going back off what Ben Jacobs also said, that if Manchester United do pull out of the Ederson deal, that Kone is one of the favourites to step forward on Manchester United's list and their short list of midfielders at the moment that they've got. And he could definitely be a name with us looking at him before and obviously recruiting him and looking into a potential deal well over a year ago now. It's a simple move for Manchester United to make. They know that the wages are not going to be an issue again. And it's all going to come down to what Roma want to price him at. And the hike in price is expected now of United. They must be prepared for it. Look, I don't like it. Nobody likes it. It's a joke. It's a farce. And we've just got to deal with it. It's as simple as that. Ineos know what's coming. They know the prices are going to go up. You've got a player there who's playing in one of the best French football sides that we've seen. And he's playing in there, playing well right now. What do you expect? You're going to have to accept that there is going to be a price difference. And if United come to town, well, we know what happens anyway. So I'm not going to make this look like this is an excuse to get out of this deal and we have to move on. No. If you want this player and you think that this player is the right one, you're going to have to accept how this transfer market has gone and you're going to have to go in and do the deal. It's as simple as that. It's the same with Joao Gomes this morning as well. With Graham Bailey actually reporting this morning, going in on this, and United have never had Joao Gomes off their list of transfers. Well, of course, that's easy to say now, isn't it, Graham? Because obviously you're looking at it falling down and breaking down with Atletico Madrid, that deal never on. And now you can start talking about Man United never having Joao Gomes off their list of potential midfield targets this summer. Of course, he's going to be there. If he's available, then United are going to be interested. We know we tried to get him in January. We know we've again spoken to his representatives at the end of this season to see if a deal could be done. It looked like he'd gone to Atletico Madrid. The reports this morning on this are that Joao Gomez' £38 million move to Atletico Madrid obviously has fallen through and negotiations have stopped. That's off. They've bought Martin Hillman from Sporting. So realistically, the transfer is just open at the moment. And United or any other club, as we've heard before in the reports, Liverpool also in for Joao Gomez and had conversations with his representatives again. All this in mind, bearing in mind, is that the representatives that we're talking about here is Jorge Mendes again. And all of a sudden you see a report this morning, the £38 million deal that was agreed through Jorge Mendes, who has still managed to scupper this deal and make it collapse because of his greed and his hard negotiating. Atletico Madrid are not going to do a Spurs. They're not going to buckle and just bow down to Jorge Mendes. So this was the fear that a lot of Man United fans had in going back in for Gomez, because they knew of Jorge Mendes. Is he going to try and shaft us again? The £38 million deal was done. There was obviously something behind the scenes regarding agents' fees or some kind of issue with this transfer, because it was all set up and in place. Personal terms as well. And that was £38 million. Now, the reports this morning are saying that Man United are in town and Wolves now want £50 million. Jorge Mendes wants £50 million. And this, again, is the big problem that we've got right now with these agents. And again, that's the bigger story. But did you expect this to be any different? I've been saying the last 2 days, you know what the deal was for Atletico Madrid. You know what the personal terms were. Go in, say to Mendes, we'll do the same deal and we'll make sure that that deal happens. Bang, 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 signed. No, trying to get more. At that point then, you would probably walk away from Gomes if he tries to try and get more than 50 million quid for him. Gomes is where he is at that deal at Atletico Madrid, I feel. And with United looking at other targets in and around the same price, I don't think United hang around and trying to bid over 50 million for Joao Gomes. I don't think they do. Look, some of you might think that you still go in for Gomes and you go and get him anyway at 50 million. But this is where the £100 million situation is. So working off the 50 million that's in on Andre Santos already, United have to decide where they spend that next 100 million plus now on that midfielder or midfielders. Because you could go and get 2 midfielders for that price, or do you go in all in and buy one big midfielder? Because if the price for Gomes starts to rise above 50 million, then other midfield targets also come in and you start to look away from Gomes at that point. And that's where other stories are creeping in on the Sander Berge one, which I'll update you on in this show very shortly as well. But Kone is in and around that 45 to 50 million mark, and United can get that deal done. 25, we know what he is, we know what he's going to bring to Manchester United. It'd probably be an easier deal to get done and get over the line than the Joao Gomes one with Wolves because of Mendes again.
Just quickly, after the World Cup, Marcus Rashford, as soon as England return home, Marcus Rashford will be in direct conversations with Michael Carrick, but Rashford already confirmed his availability to start the pre-season at Manchester United. So the news I gave you 2 weeks ago is 100% confirmed. Rashford will start pre-season with Man United, and then, if there is a proposal on the table, Rashford and United will consider that. But Rashford will start the pre-season with Manchester United.